My name is Drew, and I'm the Aspiring Master, and welcome to the Aspiring Master Presents. This is a show where we talk about the meanings, misunderstandings, and insights about the important words that we use and misuse on a daily basis. Really understanding what we're truly meaning when we talk allows us to convey that meaning and be more understood when we're communicating with others. This not only allows us clearer communication so we can get what we need quicker and with less stress, but also allows us to understand ourselves in more depth than we thought possible. Today on our show, we have our special guest, my wife, Talia Wilson, who, as with myself, is an enthusiastic advocate for personal growth and personal awareness. Today, we're going to be doing one that we did as the start of our show, which was the actual pilot episode. Our pilot episode was on the word love, and today we're going to revisit that in Love Revisited. Let's go. We did one episode already called Love. And that was our first episode, the pilot episode, which I did with Therese Wilson. And she's no longer with us anymore, unfortunately. But we did have a fun time. But we missed a bunch of stuff in love. And so Talia and I decided to get together and do Love Revisited. So we're going to start off with the dictionary definition again and try and fill in the gaps that we had in our first show. Please, by all means, go see the first episode that we ever did. It was very good. It was, like I said, missing a couple of things. And so when you come back and you take a look at this episode, you'll go, oh, right, okay, I see what happened there. So we're going to start off with Merriam-Webster. We're going to look at what the base definitions of love are from the dictionary. And we are going to have to say there is a ton of definitions of love on this. And so we're going to go and start. And it goes 1A, and then 1A1, 1A2, 1A3, and then 1B, and then 2, and then 3A, 3B, 3B1, 3B2, 4A, then 4A1, 4A2, then 4B, and there's like 7 definitions. It's quite interesting. Anyway, so we're going to start off with definition 1A1. 1A1. And it's a strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties. 1A2 is attraction based on sexual desire, affection, and tenderness felt by lovers. 1A3, affection based on admiration, benevolence, or common interests. And now we go to B. 1B, an assurance of affection. 2 is warm attachment, enthusiasm, or devotion. Number 3, A, the object of attachment, devotion, or admiration. So the object of it.
Okay.
I don't know what that object of attachment is. Love. I'm not really sure what that means. That seems kind of silly.
Is this back to you love pizza?
Yeah, well, I think that is. I think that's what they're trying to or what they're trying to equate that to.
Right.
But I think that that's totally wrong. You can't call the object love, or is a love of somebody else. I guess you could do it that way. It's like pizza is a love of John's, right? Okay, so I guess you can do that. That's just kind of a weird way of doing it. B, right. 3B, a beloved person. Darling, often used as a term of endearment. Or my love, right?
Right.
You call her my love. British also, yes, my love is what they said there. 4, unselfish loyalty and benevolent. Concern for the good of another. Okay. B on that one is a person's adoration of God. So there's that. 5 is a god such as Cupid, Eros, and we were talking about Venus at one point.
Right.
6, an amorous episode, a love affair. Okay, well, that's great. That's an affair, not...
Yeah.
That's a love affair. Anyway, the sexual embrace, copulation, is what they call love. Making love to a person, as they say. 8, a score of 0 in a tennis match. 1 love, right? And, okay. So those are our definitions. Where we're going to focus, though, is sort of in the group on number 1. and a strong affection for another arising out of kinship and personal ties. But I think that what we're going to get down to is we're going to really try and define the word love, what it like the ultimate definition of love could be.
Right.
And what I think the ultimate definition and how I operate my life with using this definition of love. But we'll get there. First off, let's talk about how we use love, a strong affection for another arising out of kinship and personal ties. And a lot of the times when we say, oh, I love you, it could be a number of things. I've seen it used a lot of times. I've seen it used as a manipulation device of I don't really mean it, but if I say it, it really hooks the other person in.
Right.
I've seen it used to describe that feeling, that, oh, joyous feeling when you're with another person or in their presence or when you're thinking about them.
Right.
And I've also heard it used to describe that exact same thing when you are in love. Now, and I think that right now I'm going to differentiate between love, the big word love, and the in love. And one of the things that we know, if anybody there's a lady named, what is her name? Fisher.
Helen Fisher.
Helen Fisher, yeah. Right. Helen Fisher has done and does a lot of research into love and the brain. And when two people fall in love, they know it is a chemical thing in the brain that is akin to cocaine. What it does is it drugs you to cocaine and heroin. It drugs you to the point where you are feeling so good, you will forgive anything in the other person because it is such a draw. It's like you are just attracted. You can't be out of this person's presence, and you're always thinking about them, and you know it becomes obsessive. And that's what I would say is in love. Oh, I love this person so much. And I'm like, yes, but are you in love, or are you describing just that explosive joy feeling of love, right? And we also have to differentiate between love as a feeling, right? If we go back to Marshall Rosenberg, who wrote Nonviolent Communication,
right?
He talks about love as a feeling or a need, and I think that he's got some really good points there. If you need somebody, and we're talking, I think that's really in love is what happens when you are almost to the point of being obsessive, is that in love chemical reactions going on in your brain, and you become obsessed, or you have a need for the person. I know that when you and I fell in love, and when we fell in love, when we were in that drugged state for both of us, it was tough being away from each other. It was, we yearned to be back there. Even if we were so angry with each other that we could barely stand each other, we still yearned to be back there. And that is that chemical addiction that we call the need to be in love. Or a need expressed. I need you to be here. Right?
Well, I mean, I think John Gottman's probably one of the love experts because he studied it so much in like the Love Lab, especially, and stuff like that. So he's been studying, as you know, because you've read his stuff, couples for years, how they interact, and also the science behind it, hooking them up to all the monitors to see how the body reacts in different states of, affection and argument, and just dealing with each other on a, the Love Lab, I think what they do by the weekend or something. But I know John Bradshaw, who's done a lot of family and shame research, has referred to Gottman in his stuff, because he came up with the 3 stages of being in love. And the first one is the in love, and it's all about just being close and being together, but it's not really love. It's
it's an addiction. It's basically a drug, right? Your body's saying procreate, Go
Yeah,
procreate.
that's
It's what it's
exactly
for.
what the body is saying. Absolutely.
Yeah, we want to make more little yous.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, so Bradshaw called it stage 1 is you, because it's where you discover each other. You're having lots of intercourse, and you're not really having to work at it because you're just kind of in this euphoria the whole time. And then stage 2 is work, where you start getting your independence back. You're still doing things together, but you're also
You become yourself again. You come back to yourself.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. It's like you get a new identity. Like kind of like after you have a kid, you're not the person you were before, but you become somebody else. Kind of like that.
Well, okay. Keep going. Just keep going.
I know that's a very weird analogy, but that's what I can think of. And then step 3 is called the realm of hours, OURS, where it's all about connection, commitment, and deep intimacy. And by deep, they mean relating to one another, not just physical, as it is in stage 1.
Well, here's the thing. He's also describing love as relationship in that instant.
Yeah.
He's just talking about the evolution of the feeling into something different that changes the beings or the people that are
and he based that on Gottman's research.
Right. Yeah, and which on relationships. And Gottman is primarily a relationships researcher.
Yeah.
They call him the love doctor because he's got the love lab.
Love lab.
And it's designed to study relationships and why they break apart and why they get closer together.
Because they were saying that a lot of the people who come to the love lab are on the verge of breaking up, and a lot of them still do. Mm-hmm. But they come away with a better understanding of why. Right.
Well, and that be that as it may, when I'm talking about love, and when we talk about the in love stage, I think that what we're ultimately trying to define is what everybody calls unconditional love. Okay? Because I think that the idea of unconditional love encapsulates love at its essence. Right? The essence of love. And we're going to get to that unconditional love, but we got to go through how we use love all the time. One of the ways that we use love, and especially when we're in love, is to describe that high that we have when we're with another person, with that other person, the other chosen one. That for whatever reason, they don't even know why our body actually starts producing those chemicals with specific people, and why we fall in love. But go ahead.
Well, the chemicals actually.
Dopamine.
No. I wrote them down for some reason. Vasopressin and oxytocin. They are what they call the cuddle chemicals.
Well, and dopamine's part of it. Actually, dopamine is released.
Dopamine's in the brain.
That's the reward.
So you can't. Dopamine is your brain rewarding itself for the feeling. Yeah,
basically. Those chemicals that produce the dopamine.
Because then those chemicals tell your brain this is cool, and then your brain is all happy.
The dopamine.
Yeah.
So, what happens in the in-love stage is we fall in love, and we have all of these chemicals bouncing around in our brain for it can be up to 3 years. It's pretty rare that it goes up to that, but it's 6 to 8 months usually. What'll happen is after that we sort of get back to being the people we were when we're in love, when we are in the chemical throes of being in love.
Right.
And like I said, by all means, go and take a look at some of the TED Talks that Helen Fisher does on this, because it is quite fascinating how the brain in love works. And they did the MRIs and the studies and to find out what was going on and how we are basically physically addicted to each other. And we call that love. I'm in love. Love. And when we call that capital love, we're talking about the feeling of euphoria that surrounds that, right? And it's like, no wonder people get addicted to cocaine and heroin, because you have similar reactions in the brain, right?
It's basically the same thing in the brain.
So you literally become addicted to each other.
Yeah.
And that feeling is not what I would consider love, or what other people would consider unconditional love.
still the biology was there. Like, I mean, still people fell in love, and and in this state, and having been there twice myself, and it's interesting as a young man, growing up and formulating my thoughts around love and what love was. My whole concept of love changed when I fell in love. Right? Now, the only reason that has, and I'm going to kind of bring up Helen Fisher here, who is a research scientist that researches love and the brain, and what being in love, or being in romantic love, as they call it now, does to the brain, and that it's like you're being hopped up. It actually stimulates the same centers as being hopped up on a major drug, and the thing is you're in that state for a very long period of time. So when you're in love, if the other person is not with you, it's very painful, but I found it to be a very bittersweet pain, right? It hurt, but it hurt in a really good way.
So bad.
Right? Exactly. It's so being in love is an overwhelming biological feeling that is so incredibly strong. And now, having fallen in love the first time and then walked into love the second time, and I'm saying that because I was conscious the second time I was doing it, right? The first time I was doing it, I was just like, whoa, this is insane, right? And going into it, and then, of course, what the biology does to you in that point is said, okay, we've got to make this permanent, so we got to get married, and we've got to get on with, propagating the species, because that's the push to it. What happened was my first initial relationship, following that instinct, what I called at the time just love, right? I'm totally feeling it all the time. Was actually a biological thing that was going on, and it wasn't really the idea of love that we're going to eventually define in this, but it is certainly an overwhelming feeling biologically. I mean, you've been in love, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and we've discussed before. After 47 years, there are still times, fairly frequently, where, and just thinking about it, where I get that same feeling, that glow from the heart outwards. Sometimes I'll see him walking across the room in a certain way, and I'll just go, oh my God, I'm so in love with you. So it doesn't have to go away, but it is tempered with, doggone, I just like this guy.
Because, I mean, you'd have to ask, okay, is love an emotion? Is love a chemical? Is love physical?
Well,
I mean, that's...
Well, ultimately, love is an electrochemical reaction in the body, right? Like, I mean, Now that's when we're describing a feeling, we're describing an electrochemical reaction in the body that the body produces from whatever stimulus that we have that gets there, okay? So if we're talking about love as a feeling, right, as Marshall Rosenberg talks about it, there's love as a need, which I think is the in love or the addicted love idea, right? And then he talks about love as a feeling, which we can say is that cuddly, snuggly, wonderful feeling when you're close to somebody and you're feeling connected and all of that stuff. That feeling now is what a lot of people call love. Now, I differentiate here because I don't think love is the feeling. I think the feeling is joy, gratitude, that mixture of contentment, the feeling accepted, the whole package is, I would kind of pile in as joy, right?
So you're thinking the feeling of love is a combination of many things.
Yeah, it's a bunch of feelings, but I think that it really is joy and gratitude all sort of like as an expression in our bodies. When you feel that feeling of love, because I've looked at it, I've been with you and felt when I'm feeling that feeling, I'm feeling euphoric and giving and all of that stuff, and it's an outward sensation, and that feeling is joy. And I mean, when I'm feeling it and I'm expressing it, it's joy, it's gratitude, it's being so grateful that it's here, grateful that you're here and that you want to be here with me, and the joy of having that union, right? So when I'm talking about love on a feeling level, I'm really talking about joy, right? I'm really talking about joy and gratitude and all of this stuff. And you can dissect it, because joy and gratitude produces a bunch of other feelings as well,
Right.
at the same time. But I think that on a accumulation level, when we say, oh, I feel love, I think what we're talking about is I feel joyful and gratitude. I feel grateful to be here, right?
But couldn't love be similar to intimacy and have different types or different layers?
Well, I think that when you take a look at the definitions from Merriam-Webster, we have so many definitions, and what we're trying to do is really trying to break it down to what it is we're talking about when we say it. When somebody says, I love you, what are you saying? And our problem with trying to communicate with each other is that we don't understand what we're talking about. So when I say, Talia, I love you, does that mean, Talia, I feel this wonderful emotion, and so therefore I'm saying this to you? Or is it, Talia, what does that mean? I unconditionally love you. What does that mean, right? So we need to figure out what that is. Or am I saying, this is the next phase, is that we confuse love and like all the time.
Yeah.
Like hugely. And when I say that, when you say, oh, I love pizza, what you're saying is, I like pizza a lot.
Or I enjoy it.
Right. Well, but we can actually look at this as a feeling too, right?
Well, and
because
it
when
would
I
also be chemical, because you get,
I didn't catch what you just said. You kind of
eating
stopped.
pizza is chemical, or eating any kind of food, because you get that brain dopamine reward again.
Right. Yeah,
So.
and that's, again, I think that what we're doing is when we say we love pizza, we grab that pizza, we shove it in our mouths, our body goes ecstatic.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, we have that same kind of, a small amount of that dopamine hit, like you're saying, right? That small amount of dopamine
So
hit.
I think that's why, as a kid especially, what you know as love is very simple, So of course I love ice cream, I love pizza, because it feels good when you eat it. It tastes good,
Right.
It's
Your body enjoys it.
Yeah, your body enjoys it, your brain enjoys it, So of course you're going to equate why everyone still says it when they're adults. I love pizza, I love food, I love ice cream, I love, whatever.
Well,
because at the root, we're still that little kid inside.
Well, I think that what we are doing is we're describing the dopamine hit, right? I think that we are talking about exactly that. We're just going, like, we're stating that I'm almost in love. And when you get that reward, right, that feeling of, contentment is all that we're saying. Right. Pizza, when I eat pizza, I feel contented and warm, right? So it's similar to that love feeling. So we just use that to describe it because it's similar, right? And so, and I'm not saying to anybody, stop using love for I love pizza. It's not that simple. No. It's just knowing how you're using the word and why you're using the word.
I wouldn't consider that an emotional response. That's more of a mental response.
I think that it is too, but I think that people get it confused with.
Well, I think when you're a child, absolutely it's an emotional response, because you just run on emotions when you're a kid. Right. But when you're an adult, I think you really think about, why do I like pizza? Oh, I like it because the cheese melts a certain way, or the sauce tastes, has oregano in it or something. Right. So you're analyzing it a little bit more than when you were a kid. So I think something like that becomes more mental.
Well, I
don't know.
I agree and I disagree, because I think that adults don't really think that.
Yeah,
way.
I was just going to say, I don't think most people are sitting there going, I like pizza because it's aesthetically pleasing and it's made from tomatoes, and the United States says it's a vegetable.
And I love pizza because, and nor do people go, even stop to think about why they say I love pizza. or
No.
that it's a massive
No,
like.
but it has the potential to be, I think, more mental than emotional.
Yes, I agree. So now we've talked about love in comparison to like, and here's the thing: is when you fall in love. Let's go back to the fall in love thing, and let's take a look at. Let's go into what the sort of unconditional love, the love that I'm talking about, and when I use love in my own vocabulary, I use it as what people would consider unconditional love. But we haven't even defined that. As like most people don't, they go, I want unconditional love, and I say, what is that? Well, I just want them to like me for me and allow me to be me. And I'm just like, okay, so what is that? What do you want, and what is unconditional love to you?
But
And
are you willing to reciprocate?
Right. Well, I
Would be
mean,
my
but
question.
it doesn't matter whether you are or you aren't, and we'll get into that in a second. Okay. Hold on. So when we're talking about unconditional love, which is what I call love, not just unconditional love. I don't differentiate. I just go, I love. It is, and my definition is absolute acceptance without judgmental condemnation. And now we've got to define what judgmental condemnation is. Judgmental condemnation is, first off, we judge all the time. And judgmental condemnation is what most people call just judge.
Well,
Judging.
I wouldn't say condemnation. I would say contempt.
Yes, but the reason that I use condemnation, and it'll be clear in just a sec, is when I go judgmental condemnation, I'm condemning the other party. I'm telling them they're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay?
But
And
it's not as, I think, as cutthroat as contempt.
I
Contempt
agree.
is the, I have no respect for you, type thing.
when I condemn you, I have contempt, right? Yes, it opens up the door.
Yeah. Okay.
To be contemptful.
Okay,
Contempt is
I can
an
agree
action,
with that.
really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I go without judgmental condemnation, what I say is we all have judgment. We all have to have judgment as human
Right.
beings. We need to be able to judge whether a situation is safe, whether a situation is volatile, to be able to react and respond
Right.
to situations with aplomb. But, right, I just wanted to say aplomb just because it popped into my head.
Yeah, but it makes me think of plum sauce.
So we can react or respond to a situation accordingly. It is not there is no judgmental condemnation. There's no condemning anybody because of the judgment. When
Right.
you start to be able to say a thing is right or wrong, that's either condemnation, which is wrong, I'm condemning, or I'm putting a value in judgment. Either way, it's a value judgment.
Yeah.
But when
Well,
I say, go ahead.
No, I was just with the judgmental. I mean, you're going to judge anyways.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
I think the condemnation, by your saying judgmental condemnation, you're taking it almost all the way down to the floor.
Right. Well, and I think that what you're doing is the condemnation is again, it is condescension. It's a whole bunch of things of saying it's wrong and spiteful. And when I talk about judgmental condemnation, it's what most people call, oh, you're judging me. Okay? I break it down to judgmental condemnation because now we know what we're talking about. Yes, I judge you all the time. That doesn't mean that I
Yeah.
condemn you for what you're doing.
No.
So if I talk about love as acceptance, or even unconditional love, if we're going to talk it that way, unconditional love, I equate to acceptance without judgmental condemnation. Okay? Without condemning somebody or putting them in a box.
Right.
So when I talk about my base definition of love is I accept you for who and what you are. Now, the reason, without reservation, without judging you as bad or good, moral or immoral, whatever it is that you do is what you do. Okay? No judgmental condemnation. So when people talk about unconditional love, that's what they're talking about. When I talk about love, I say that's it. That's the base of what love is.
Right.
So you and I have talked a lot about this, and we know that in our relationship, because I love that way, because you have your eccentricities and you do things or don't do things that other people would find to condemn you with, right? They would condemn you. You're a bad person because you do or you don't things, right? I don't do that because that's not who I ever wish to be. But I also know that love is accepting all that you are, including all the people that are connected to you. Yippee.
But that statement, though, I just feel so judged right now.
But when you love somebody, you accept them without judgmental condemnation. And if anybody out there thinks about it, think about your best friend, your bestest friend, the friend that you've had your whole life, you love, and that cares about you and all of that stuff. Why? Why are they your best friend? Because they don't love you in spite of your quirks. They love you because of them, right? They actually accept you as the you that you are, not as who they wish you were, not as some idea of who you should be, right? But who you are. And they support you in whatever choices you make, whether that's leaving, whether that's coming closer, whatever that is. That, to a degree, when we have besties, best friends, is you tend to have that more unconditional relationship than you do with regular relationship. And I think that in regular relationship, because we have to talk about relationship in regards to love,
Yes.
When you have a relationship between two partners, we get into that really, really weird area of really confusing like, which means being pleased by somebody or pleased by something, right? I'm pleased by it, so therefore I like it. It's a preference, right? I prefer this and I prefer not that, right? So like is almost a judgment call yourself. Like there's more judgment to it than there is, acceptance. It's not like I like you, so I accept you totally. No, I accept you totally right at this moment because you're doing stuff that pleases me, and I don't accept you at this moment because you're doing stuff that messes me over, right?
I don't know. It just seems like with dating, people find it easier to say like versus love. So it's like interesting that, we can't say the L word too soon, but if you still like the person, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just seems silly to me.
Well,
I don't miss dating at all because
yeah.
it's
I've never missed dating.
Yeah, well, it's the whole, okay, if I say I like you too soon, if I say, because some people say love right off the bat. They're in a relationship. Okay, I'm in a relationship because I love you. They say it right off the bat. Other people cannot, because, I don't know, It's like love has conditions that you have to reach these benchmarks before you can call it love.
Well, and here's the mistake that I think that we make around the word love is we have this idea that love comes with a whole bunch of conditions, and which is why they differentiate love and unconditional love, because I can say, oh, I love you, but you have to follow these rules in order for you to keep my love, right? Which is really more of a transactional relationship than it is a relationship of love, which is acceptance, right? That means that you need to do this for me and therefore this for you. And so when we fall in love, I said, here's one of our major mistakes in relationship. And one of the things that I tell people a lot, I said, if you can interchange like and love a lot in your conversation with each other, like, I like you, right? If you can say, I like you to your partner every single day, right? There's times that you don't like a partner. Absolutely. I don't like you right now. Doesn't mean that I don't love you. Just means I don't like you right now.
Right.
And if we can differentiate between those two, but we get so confused because it's like, I don't love you right now. Remember as kids? I don't love you. You know, like that whole thing. Well, no, the truth is there's I'm not pleasing you right now, and so you like me a lot less than you ever would.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
You
it's
just
also
me.
like the family thing.
Mhm.
You know, like your relatives. You're more likely to say you love them versus you like them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't want to say obligation, but it kind of is portrayed that way, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and when we do this, you know, we just go, no, we're talking about like. People say I fell out of love with them, right? Well, I would venture to say that you fell out of like with them, really.
Yeah.
I think that what happens is like, oh, I love you right now. You're pleasing me right now, so therefore I love you. And if you're not pleasing me, I hate you, right? Right? Because that we get into that dichotomy of I hate you. Well, the truth is I intensely dislike you at the moment, or I intensely like you at the moment.
I was going to say that seems like just a massive extreme of, oh, I love you, oh, I hate you.
Yeah, but I see that a lot.
No,
right?
I know that.
And I see people use love all the time in place of like.
Right.
You know, and I think that, too, we get mixed up in that whole feeling of love. And so when we're talking about it, it's like, oh, I love you. And it's like, oh, okay, does that mean that you're feeling love for me right now, or feeling joyous and grateful that I'm here?
Right.
Or does that mean, oh, I need you to do something, or I need you to be with me, please, right? Are you asking me a question to come closer, or are you expressing something in the moment, right?
Right.
Because therein lies the thing, the difference between love as a need and love as a feeling. One is an expression, and one is somebody that wants something, right? So people, I've seen people do it often of saying, "Oh, I love you," and if somebody doesn't say that I love you back, they're like, "Oh my God, well maybe they don't love me." Right?
It was like when in school when you wanted to play with your friend's toy and you know, I'll be your best friend.
Oh yeah, I know. I love
that
that
kind
one.
of thing.
Yeah, I'll give you some gum if you'll be my friend.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that therein lies an understanding of Marshall Rosenberg's idea between the two, the need, love as a need,
Right.
and love as a feeling, right? If I'm feeling love, which I would equate to, what I would say is I was feeling filled with joy and gratitude for being around this person, for all the things. Because what I find when I'm feeling that feeling, because I look at my thoughts and I look at my understandings and emotions all at the same time while I'm doing it. This is something that most people don't do. One of the reasons that I do this show is to be able to shed some light on what it is, our thought processes of how that happens while in the moment. I have the ability to be able to stand back from myself and go, why? Why am I feeling this? What is the feeling here? Why all of these chemicals going on? What is my thought process behind this? You know, because when I look at you, it's sort of like I'm in the car, I'm driving home, and I'm excited about coming home, right? I'm feeling that excitement about coming home to see my wife. And I'm in the car and I'm like, oh, you know, I miss her. There's a combination of missing and that bittersweetness and this huge amount of gratitude and this, you know, tinging of some joy in there, and having those feelings collide and muck around. And my thoughts also behind it are, I remember last time we were together, or a kiss that we had last week, or just the smell of you, or that feeling of being close to you, like I feel the warmth, right? I remember the warmth as I'm doing it, and all of these things collide into that feelings of that multitude of feelings that say, oh, I just want to be home because I miss you. And I don't miss you, but I miss the flavor of you, of the touch, of the enjoyment of being close, okay? The intimacy. I really miss the intimacy of our relationship, and I look forward to that intimacy when I get home. And I get home, and you've just had a migraine and you're bitchy. So
I was going to say,
so
this is all coming from the guy who says hi to the cat first.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, that's because he's right at the door.
Yeah, because he's tired of me by the end of the day.
But anyways, so then I come home and maybe you're not in the mood, and I'm just going, well, okay, but it's still, that feeling is broken down in me. And so when I talk about the feelings of love and that expression, I really have taken a look inside myself to see why. And one of the reasons that I like doing this show is because we talk about the reasons why we say things. So why are you saying I love you? Is it a need? You need somebody to reciprocate because you're feeling, and really you're not feeling love. What you're doing is feeling what's the feeling? I just go, my brain just went to ashamed, but you're not feeling ashamed.
No.
You're feeling insecure. You're not feeling like people want you, or
Sometimes.
you're feeling, it's like, and so you're looking for confirmation. And so when you go, I love you because I need somebody to help me and say hi to me and pet me and tell me it's okay, because I've certainly done that, right?
So you're saying you love me because you want something from me?
Well, and I mean, no, but I see this being used that way,
Okay.
right?
So
Okay,
it's used as a transaction.
It's used as I want you to tell me I'm okay. I want you to tell me you love me because I'm feeling unloved, right? Not I'm saying I love you because I'm expressing something. I'm saying I love you because I want something from you, and not
Well, I say
necessarily.
it because you were the first person who never freaked out on me for wanting to say it.
Well, okay. Well, no, I was all cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had actually said it, not after we first met.
Right.
And we weren't even remotely close to being together. But I mean, you say I love you to Nate and Dean and Marcus, and
Right.
so.
Well, and I mean, I again, because I have a unique perspective on what love is.
Right.
It's about acceptance, and
Yeah. But there's, most people aren't like you, so they don't equate love in the same way. A lot of people hear the word love and they get scared because it's like, I think they think that, okay, if someone is saying they love me, they want commitment.
Right.
And it's like, they may not be ready for it. And I don't think we should be equating love with commitment, at least not right away.
I think that, I don't think that we should, but I think that we do.
Well, I know
I
we
think
do.
that most people really equate love to, if you say, I love you, now you're looking for something. Now you're looking for me to love you back.
Yeah, because, if you're progressing to the point where we're comfortable saying I love you, okay, where do we go from here? Okay, maybe after a few months it's time to get engaged, and after a year it's time to get married, and I know if it hasn't happened by then, another year it's time to have kids or whatever.
Well, I think,
but
I think that you're hitting the nail on the head, right there.
But I think a lot of people hear it and that's what comes up. It's like, maybe they're not ready, maybe it's really early in the relationship, but the one person is feeling these feelings. And instead of it not necessarily being reciprocated, but at least being accepted.
Right. Well,
they put the guard up and go, no.
I think that people just said, if you're in love with me or you love me, now you're saying it's a contract. Now there's an expectation of reciprocation, right? Or it's got to come back from me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I'm not, or not able, I'm not in love with you, but I'm in lust with you, right? Because there's the difference too with being in love and in lust.
Yeah.
You could be sexually attracted to somebody or love somebody on a sexual level, and it's not even love somebody. Really, it's desire somebody sexually, right? Yeah. I want to go to bed with you. I want to do that. And herein too, we get that mistaken understanding of sex as love, right? Because it is so intimate and so close, because you have the feelings of ecstasy and joy that come with sexual stuff, that it is often confused as the connection of love, and often is the only place where people feel truly loved, because in that moment when you let all your inhibitions loose, all of a sudden you accept each other for whoever you are in that moment. But that's chemical as well, I think, really.
the second way that we talk about love, I'm moving on from that, is love as a feeling. And the word love can be used to describe the way I or someone else is feeling about or for a particular person, right? So it's, I love you. Now, when we're in romantic love, when we say I love you, we are encompassing that huge feeling. Now, to a lesser degree, and I say this only to a lesser degree because it's more grounded when I say that to my wife now, and I said, oh, I love you. I'm describing that feeling of connection that she and I have in any given moment. Like, I mean, in the next moment, I might not like her, right? But
my mother made that distinction a long time too. She'd look at us kids and go, "Right now, I love you, but I sure don't like you."
Exactly. And well, actually,
I don't like what you did.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like your behavior.
Yeah.
But and that there's a differentiation there too. When I'm defining love as a feeling, I'm just saying, you know, I'm feeling that warm, fuzzy, wonderful, close, neat feeling towards you or my friend or something like that. So when I'm describing love as a feeling, I'm saying, yeah, I'm when I'm using the word love, I'm describing that feeling, right?
Well, I mean, it's like, I think if someone, say you're, you know, you've come over and you've had your physical intimacy and you're gonna fall asleep together, and one of them says, I love you, you know, is that just a reaction from having had the physical intimacy and having all the chemicals going bananas?
Well, and it
Even if they feel they mean it. I mean,
Well,
but
I think that you've got a really good point here. I mean, when we're talking about sexuality, I think the period of, and we're going to use the O word, the period of orgasm happens, and I think that you have a very, very similar chemical reaction to being in love in the brain. And I think that that's why a lot of relationships after the in love phase kind of peters out want the sex, because it's the closest thing that you can come from that to that dopamine hit that you get from being in love.
either that or people are just looking for a quick, easy way to fall asleep.
Oh, well, I think that that's certainly a possibility. What I'm doing is I'm equating the chemical responses that we have for sexuality and all of the stuff that goes with it, because we get dopamine hits and we're really high and all of that through that. And that feels like we're close, and that why people a lot of the time substitute sex for intimacy and that in-depth love and acceptance that we're talking about.
Well, I think we start getting into the differences between men and women, because women typically, and yes, stereotypes here, typically want to cuddle and be close and, you know, hang out and gradually go, if it goes that way, gradually go into foreplay before they go into, you know, intercourse. Whereas most guys, if they're gonna tend to initiate by touching, you know, and no, it's not just about cuddling, it's just, okay, let's go type thing.
Right.
And I'm not saying that men are bad at foreplay or all that, because there's some that are really good at it, but, you know, and understand the whole thing and stuff. But there's others that I think that they're looking for the release, so they know that they're either looking to relax or know that they're going to be able to go to sleep.
I think that that's in there as well.
Yeah. Especially after this is after the in love phase. Right. You know.
Well, yeah, and I think that too, that we just get confused because we're looking for that high. Because I don't know about you, and one of the things that Helen Fisher talks about the brain in love is that she says when we did the studies, we studied people that say that they're still in love 60 years into their relationship. They still feel that in love. And so what they do is they go in and they scan the brain and they go, yes, they do. They still have that dopamine hit when they think about the other person. They still have. It's not as prevalent, but it's still there.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, that's great, but how did that happen? And I think that what happens is two people compatibility wise, really, they mesh and accept each other on such a level that that their body continues to produce that wonderful dopamine hit that they get, that they used to get all the time. And I think that when I look at you and I as our couple, is like when I in the car and I'm thinking about you and I long to be at home and I have that expression and all of that stuff and those feelings that I analyze down to the nth degree. When I look at those feelings and I go, yeah, there is a chemical response to that because my thought process produces that kind of bittersweet longing, the joy, the gratitude, all of the things that come with that, and I can stand back and experience it and feel my body experience that, and be grateful to know that it comes from that. Right? I know where it comes from. I'm not sitting there going, I get home and then say you're in a bad mood and I'm all disappointed, because I'm not disappointed if you're in a bad mood. You're in a bad mood, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I might actually go, oh well, right?
You've actually done that to my face. Like,
yeah. Oh well.
I'm sorry, honey.
Yeah. Already. But it's so I think that when we're talking about love, I think that we're trying to simulate that feel. One of the reasons that they say that chocolate is such a stimulant is because it actually produces some of the same dopamine.
Yes, it does.
That in the brain that's the other chemicals do too.
It's kind of that reward center.
Yeah.
This is why people say I love chocolate, I love ice cream, I love pizza. It kind of all hits that same spot in the brain or produces the same chemicals.
So when we're talking about love as an ultimate thing, and so when I say I accept you as you are, right? There's a few of my friends, they go, I'm friends with people that they just don't like, right? Mm-hmm. And they go, how can you do it? Because that person, and he said, well, because first off, I don't take offense to who they've presented themselves to be. I also take a look at who they are and where they're going in their lives.
And you also don't buy into their personal BS.
No. That's the personal BS is just, it's a load of personal BS to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, I'm going to be me. Yeah. And if they enjoy my company, then I have the opportunity to be able to enjoy their company. Because if they enjoy my company and they don't feel judged by me, and here's the thing, is they don't feel judged by me because I don't have that condemnation that goes with, I'm already figuring out who you are. I'm going, I judge this person and I can see a bunch of these things going on, Well, let's see if that's correct, right? Let's see if this person is all of these things. And if this person isn't, because to me, authenticity and genuineness of the person is important to me, and honesty. And if they're not those, then I don't hang out with them. If they are those, then I do hang out with them. And what happens is I can see authenticity and integrity in people that other people don't like, because they are not willing to see past whatever offense happened, right? Between them. Whatever they saw as, he's just too egotistical.
And it could be something as simple as, just a weird look, or maybe they didn't shake your hand when you met them or something.
Or they just found them, in a lot of cases, I find it's just warring egos, right? It's like they want to be the center of attention, or that person's taking all the thunder, or whatever, right? Like
mine's more of a gut reaction. I go by the vibe I get from a person.
Well, and I do too sometimes, and lots of times I can see past what other people can't see past, and that's okay. I take that on, and I do my best to take people as they are. I do my best, because I certainly don't always succeed at this, but I do my best to accept whoever shows up as what they are, whatever that may be, and however they may present that to me. So when I'm talking about love, I'm talking about acceptance. I'm talking about I accept these people. And I think that the key here to be able to love what I would say is correctly, that benefits both parties, not just one,
Right.
that benefits both parties, is to be able to say, how can I suspend my condemnational judgment, or judgment as most people talk about it? How can I suspend my judgment on what should be right and what should be wrong?